Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, alongside me is Stevie Nicol. Plenty to discuss coming up later in the show, but we kick things off in Liverpool, where hundreds of thousands of fans line the streets of the city to celebrate Arne Slot's side winning the Premier League. Unfortunately, these scenes were marred as late on in those celebrations they were cut short when a car collided with a number of people. Julien Laurent joins us now to give us all the latest in what is very much a developing situation, Jules, but from what we understand, there were no other incidents.
No, that came late in the parade, Dan. We know that a 53-year-old man has been arrested, the man who was driving the car, and there's videos on social media pretty much everywhere where you see his car literally driving through a crowd of Liverpool fans. There's four people who've been taken to hospital. We're not really sure how serious the injuries might be, and we really hope that nobody has been seriously injured by this crazy car driving through the crowd of Liverpool fans at the end of the parade. But obviously it was a very sad moment at the end of what was a very, very joyous day, because there was finally that communion between the fans and the city of Liverpool with their players and their Premier League trophy. And it's a real shame that this incident happened late.
Forgive us if we don't go into great details. The information the police are giving out at the moment is rather sparse. To keep up to date, though, with all the latest news, go over to espnfc.com. Well, of course, it was the final weekend of action in the Premier League. We already knew Liverpool were champions. Arsenal had already qualified for the Champions League. It's about those three remaining spots, and in the end, a victory over Fulham was enough to see Manchester City advance. Chelsea, with that win away against Nottingham Forest, saw them book fourth place, and despite losing at home against Everton, Newcastle take fifth, which means that Aston Villa miss out in sixth place. For more on this, let's welcome in show Mario Malchiot's with us, Julien with us as well. Former Villa defender Zat Knight joins us as well. What on earth went wrong? One of the biggest games of the season, and Villa forgot to turn up, Zat.
Yeah, I mean, super disappointed in that game yesterday. I thought that was our cup final. That was our cup final yesterday, and we let ourselves down. We didn't turn up. I know Man United never had nothing to play for, and they played like that. Like there was no strings attached to them. They just went out there, had a bit of fun, and we went out there and we looked like we was deer in headlights.
Psychologically, how do you explain that from the players, Zat? Given you had a lot of time to prepare, it's not as if you were distracted with other things that were going on. You knew what was at stake. Fate was in your own hands. Yet, as you say, the first half, Manchester United looked like world beaters.
Yeah, I think that's the best 45 minutes Man United's played this season, and unfortunately, it was one of Villa's worst. And I was so disappointed to play Tottenham at home last week and beat them, and then to go into this game knowing we had to win, and hopefully if we can do our job, other things will fall for us, and it did. All we had to do when we look back at it now is get a point, and we never even got a goal.
Stevie, just explain to me the psychology of the players as to why these sort of games don't turn out the way sometimes we expect, given on paper this is a no-brainer. United had just lost the Europa League, nothing to play for, disgruntled fans. Villa had it all in their own hands.
Yeah. Personally, I would go back to the preparation leading up to the game, the week before. Sometimes to concentrate too much, to think too much, to show too much video, to be talking about it too much. I think if I'm the coaching staff at Villa, I'm looking at how we prepared the week leading up to this. There's a fine line between being too relaxed and not doing enough work and doing too much work and focusing too much on the opposition, thinking that you're preparing your team to win the game. And so that to me would be my explanation for the way that Villa turned up. Too much thinking, overthinking the situation, instead of, well, clearly now, if I'm Unai Emery, next time this comes along, I'm letting the players get on with it. I'm letting the players relax. I'm letting the players play, because when you play relaxed, surprise, surprise, you actually do a lot better. And so, for me, I think they had far too much mental preparation for this game.
Which is something that you can't say you've ever had a problem with.
Oh, no.
Mario, overall, do you agree? Do you think the players kind of got in their own head going into this game?
Yeah, but like what Stevie said, like sometimes, also when we go back, even further back, like he's talking about last week, but you also, some clubs, especially Villa, where they're in the up, right? They creating new things. He attracted new players, you understand, when they came to the winter, all the new players, Asensio and Rashford and all them, they joined them. Why? Because they wanted to push to that next level. Then they meet a team like PSG for the Champions League, and they almost played their final at that time because everybody needed to act the maximum of themselves. And now, yesterday is another final. And when the final then comes, it's sometimes you already played it, and that's how I felt Villa was playing. And they don't have a great record when they go to, Man U. That record is not great of them. So stepping into that game, your history is not that good. But then when you come into it, it felt like they knew that Man United, when you play against a team that's hurting because it's not performing well, you also have to make sure that you start well from the get-go. And I never felt like they were ready to really push that where they had to push it to. And even you can see it with the coach. Everything that happened in that game, he was so passionate and emotional, then you know that your team is not playing the way you want it to play.
What's interesting, Jules, they were clearly robbed and should have been 1-0 up. And obviously, if that goal was given, we'd be having a completely different discussion about it all. I think the referee has admitted that he did make a mistake to Unai Emery. But there isn't as much sympathy as maybe we could have because of that, because of the performance that we saw from Villa pretty much from the get-go.
Yeah, you're right. It was so underwhelming, like the boys have said, plus the red card of Emi Martinez, which is a stupid red card, really. I don't know if this was his last game for the club, but if this was to be the last game for the club, I mean, what a terrible ending, really, for you as a player and for what...
Jules, you mentioned Emi Martinez, maybe his last game. Why is that? Where would he be going?
I don't know, I was told that he wanted to win trophies, which he didn't feel that would be the case at Aston Villa. I'm not sure where he would go to win trophies, to be fair, to be perfectly honest. I'm not sure what his market is right now. He's been great for Villa, don't get me wrong. It was they bought him from Arsenal for £20 million at the time, where maybe we didn't expect him to bring that quality to them. He was a game changer, great, and he was a big part of the good things that they did, especially under Unai Emery. But it seems that his last game against Spurs at Villa Park felt very much like a farewell, his lap of honour, the way he waved at the crowd. And certainly the noise that we hear from his camp is that he's ready for a new challenge. Unai Emery, before the game at United on Sunday, didn't seem too keen to answer a question about Emi Martinez's future because he said, like, no, he's our player, he's going to stay here. So there might be a bit more discussions, but it very much feels a bit, from his end, that he wants a new challenge.
That, of course, this is a World Cup winner. He didn't have the best seasons this year, but a couple of seasons, of course, he's been one of the best goalkeepers in the world. How big a blow is that for Villa if indeed he does leave?
I think it's going to be a massive loss, and I think with Villa not getting into the Champions League, I think we'll miss out on a few players. Maybe there's players what we thought we was probably going to get. Maybe they thought we was going to finish in the Champions League positions, and maybe a few players what want to go and get Champions League football, having a taste of it.
You look at it, Stevie, obviously it's difficult, isn't it, to lose somebody who is so vocal at the back, someone who seems so instrumental, or not?
Well, it's not really just what you've said, it's everything.
Right.
I mean, yes, compared to his previous couple of seasons, he wasn't as good, but then he was excellent. I mean, let's be honest. And he not only is it his communication with the back four, he makes saves, he gets everybody going, the fans love him. I mean, there's everything about this guy that you want. And I was trying to think of who can Villa get that's going to fill his boots? And I don't really think there's anybody. At the same time, when I think about it, where's he going to go to win trophies? Unless he wants to go to a far-flung land where he's guaranteed trophies, but it's going to be too easy. Is that really going to fulfil somebody like him? I don't see it. So I'm not sure how Villa replace him, but I'm not quite sure where he goes either.
Well, it's going to be an interesting transfer market about coming and going, not only with Aston Villa, with players leaving, but elsewhere as well. And that takes us to Jack Grealish. Manchester City, of course, were in action yesterday against Fulham. They won that game by 2-0 to guarantee a place in the Champions League next season. But what was interesting is that Pep Guardiola was asked afterwards about Jack Grealish and the Englishman not being in the squad for the final game of the season. I tell you what, Pep was not happy with that question.
The last 2 months, month and a half, I was 5-6 players at home every time, and now this time I decided for these guys. No more than that. I don't have anything. Of course, Jack has to play. That's the truth. Jack is an unbelievable player that had to play football every 3 days, and didn't happen this season, last season neither. And they need to do it with us or another place. For example, in the FA Cup final, rotate, and Rico was not there, Maka was not there, and Kusanov and Victor and Echeverri was here, so it's the same. I try to move the players like it was net, and today it was Jack. No more than that explanation.
Yes, sorry, still on Jack. You're
No, don't ask me about Jack, please. Ask me that.
obviously not happy with him, and he's clearly not happy not to be playing. Is it a prospect?
Who said I'm not happy with him?
Well, you're not been selected.
And? Who said he? I said in my words I'm not happy with him.
No, but if you've got a player...
And yeah, I don't play the last games neither play. He was in the bench, and Rico, for me, one of the favorite players I have, he was not selected neither. Makati play against Aston Villa was exceptional, and against another games I played against Wolves was exceptional, and today was not selected too. Why don't ask me about Makati, for example? It's not about personal. I don't have any problems with the players. If you say I'm selecting, we are in trouble, no trouble, we are not selecting, we are in trouble, it's not about that. It's not about that. I have 24 players, I have to get rid of 6 players last game, today 5, because Kovacic has sent off in the last game. Otherwise, I had 6 players at home. And I treat Jack like I think Jack, now I think in Kusanov, I think in Victor, I think in Makati, I think all the players have not been. But it's not anything personal about Jack, absolutely anything.
Jack Grealish, McAtee, very different situations, of course. Grealish costing 100 million. McAtee coming through the youth ranks. Why were you smiling during that?
I don't understand. You talk about getting a nerve poked, because clearly there's a problem here. You don't go on a rant like that and talk about how good somebody is and what a great player and he should be playing. And his explanation doesn't make any sense. It doesn't add up. He's talking about having to leave people at home. But every single person he talked about that he's left at home on some occasion, they've played. Grealish has never seen the field. I don't remember the last time I saw him kicking a ball. So there's clearly a problem there, and somebody just poked the bear. And hey, you didn't make any sense, Pep.
Zat, are you surprised? Obviously, this is a guy who was key to that treble season for Manchester City. Came in, took a while to kind of adapt to Pep, but once he did, it looked like he was first choice. Yet, last couple of seasons, as Stevie said, we haven't seen much of him at all.
Yeah, I think with Jack, he's the type of player, because he's such a flair player, he wants to get on the ball. I think it's right what Pep said. He has to play week in, week out. He can't just be a bit part player, because he needs a rhythm. And obviously, he hasn't had no rhythm. So the way he is right now, when he's coming in and playing 1 game a month, you're not seeing the best Jack. He needs to be playing twice a week. If it's a Tuesday and a Saturday or Sunday, whatever day it is, he needs to find some rhythm to his game. And then obviously not getting selected, he's not finding rhythm. And the small bit part he is playing, it's not good enough.
Jules, he's 29, by the way. I thought he was younger than that. It was interesting that graphic obviously says that he's heading into his 30s, Jules. Where's he going to go? No one's paying 100 million for him, obviously.
No, I don't think so. I mean, the value is very different to when they bought him, when he was on the back of that wonderful season with Villa, and the release clause was there, and City paid it. Could he go on loan, a bit like what Raheem Sterling type of, because he's on big wages as well, because of the valuation that they paid for him, and they would not have amortized that just yet. So it's a very interesting one. He has to leave and he has to play. And City are going to recruit more players, by the way. So if now he can't even get in the squad, not even just the bench, but the squad, when City are going to invest massively in the summer again, then there's no room for him in that squad, in that club.
Do you think Villa would have him back, Zat, if that was an option?
If it's a loan deal, they'll probably give it a try, just in the sense where what he'd done for us in the past. But maybe the way Unai plays his football, maybe he won't fit, because the way he played for Villa, everything went through him. And the way we play right now, I don't think everything can go through him. If they might think he might disrupt the team.
Who would you prefer, Zach? Simply Rashford or Grealish?
Jack.
Ah, Jack. There you are. Mario, what's happened to Jack Grealish?
I think, look, coach, there was a time when they were in the difficulty, City. And he had to make quick choices. He went for speed, And I think, like the Grealish that we know would always take anybody on. Then I saw it seeing less from him, especially on the outside. When a player doesn't take you on the outside, that means that he's doubting his own ability in the sense of the speed. So Doku start playing that position. And then Doku start playing more. But normally you expect the battle to carry on. But he didn't carry on with the battle because Pep chose for, sometimes he knew that they were dismantling his team. So that's why he chose for speed. And I think that's what is the biggest question to him. And with that, Pep gets emotional by it. Normally he answers those questions. But this is something that he knew that he left the kid out. And he knows that Grealish, as an individual, he came there as a star player from Aston Villa, coming in there. You don't want to sit on the bench. He knows that he doesn't like it. He's not happy. So if I was Grealish, think about your future. If you want to play the game, you got to make a decision. If not, you sit nice and dry where you are. But I don't think as a footballer you would like that.
Where does he fit, Jules?
It's a good question because you made a really good point, Dan, in the way he changed his game. He was a very different player at Villa, obviously, like Zat mentioned. Everything had to go through him. One-on-one, he was brilliant. And then at City, Pep taught him about control. And you're there not to go one-on-one all the time and trying to take on people. You're there to control the tempo of the game. You're a very different winger than you used to be. You're a very different winger than the winger on the other side, for example. And now it feels like you're a very different winger than what Pep wants, which is Doku and Savinho and that pace and those one-on-one abilities that now you don't provide anymore so much. So it's interesting. I still think that there will be a market for him in England. I still think that people recognize the talent that he has and the experience that he would bring now. But there's probably a question mark over his fitness because he missed some games this season too because of injuries. And that's a little bit of a worry when you're approaching 30 on the wages that he's on. That's why we think that probably a loan deal is the most likely. But again, you'll have to find an agreement over his wages and who pays one, how much do City still pay, how much does the new club pay, and that's not going to be easy.
How hard would you push if you're Aston Villa to get him back?
I'll push because I feel that he'd probably be comfortable. I know Birmingham's not far from Manchester, but it's familiar. It's a familiar place, so hopefully he can come back. I would break the bank. I would really break the bank to get him back and make him feel welcome. And hopefully he can get us back to the heights that we did have this season.
Mario says you're speaking nonsense, Mario.
Yeah, no, says my buddy. I never do that to him. No, but one thing you understand what's very important. Seth said it before prior to a couple of minutes ago. They don't play Champions League, eh? So to be able to pay him, you understand, you gotta also think about your budget because the budget is not like what they expected it to be. So even if you loan a player like Grealish, you still have to remember his salary. It's going to be a very important point for Emirates to think about how he's going to structure his ability to make sure that he can handle those expensive players.
Zach, we'll let you go. Thank you very much, mate. As always, much appreciated. To keep up to date with all the latest about Jack Grealish's future, be sure to check out Transfer Talk over on the website. Yesterday, a 1-0 victory for Chelsea against Forest was enough to see them guaranteed Champions League football next season. Enzo Maresca was keeping those receipts in his post-match press conference.
I didn't have any doubt, to be honest, about the players. I said that the doubt was from outside. All the ones that they have the answer, or all the ones that they have the truth. They were saying that we are too young, we are not good enough. They were waiting for Villa draw points in case we want to achieve Champions League. And they were saying that we were not able to win in this pitch because too young, because not experienced. And unfortunately for them, they have been all wrong. All the ones, that they have the truth and they have the answer for everything. So in English, I would say F off to all of them because the player, they deserve that.
Yeah, Mario, you said last week they weren't going to do it.
Yes, my friend, because I told you, I said to you, I'm going to be the opposite, say no, but hoping they will, because that is the season, This is what you have to do. Come on, if you spend that much money,
Mario,
you have to
do you want that from your manager? Do you want that sort of attitude?
No, but in a way, Dan, I have to be honest with you too. I don't want the manager to react like that. I always want him to be the gentleman. But you also have to remember, he's still a human being. And sometimes, and that moment, it was the better of him. But sometimes he plays himself in that corner. Because you remember when he was second in the league, he kept on saying, oh, we are not going for the title, and da. And now he says he made it to the Champions League. He says, look at us. No, that is where I only have the shift with
You've got a final on Wednesday. You lose that final, you're right back down to the bottom.
Absolutely. And also, where I've got an issue with what you just said is that he was the one pointing out earlier in the season that they were young and lack experience and they could not win the title. It was not us. He told us, no, don't have high expectations of us because we're young and we're not ready and we are this and we are that. And now he's blaming us for saying exactly the same thing as him. So if we were doubting, he was doubting himself too, because he was the one saying, no, we're young, don't expect anything from us. That's where I think he's a little bit dishonest in his answer.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm sitting here and I was trying to remember.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was the one that said that they were too young.
Yep.
So he's telling
about the
himself.
specific last game, isn't he, against Forest? You all didn't think we had the experience to go there and get the win, and that's exactly what we've done.
Well, listen, in some ways you could say that it's Forest's fault the Chelsea won.
Oh, Steve.
If Chris Woods...
You've got so much hate over the last 24 hours.
I'll tell you what, Chris Woods has a proper centre-forward. I'm sorry, Chris Woods has scored a lot of goals this season in the Premier League.
Oh, Dad.
Who don't pick the right time. There's a time and a place to say these types of things, right?
Yeah.
And it's not when you've spent 1.2 billion and you try to pat yourself on the back for being fourth after spending 1.2 billion. That's my problem. If it was 1.2 million and they got in the top four, we would be praising them all over there. But it's not. And actually, as far as I can remember, personally, I think the criticism I've given Chelsea had more been on Maresca as opposed to the players. Because Maresca got them playing the way they were till Christmas, and then it fell apart. And that's... The majority, in my opinion, is down to the coach. So that's my problem with Maresca.
Wednesday, of course, is the Conference Cup final. Mario, as they take on Real Betis. How big is this game for you as a Chelsea fan?
No, it's a big game. Why it's a big game? Because it can also, look, you qualify for Champions League, great, right? Because it's next season. But this is something that... when your season is not always like they like Stevie said, till the winter, great. You understand? I enjoyed it, the way they were playing football. Then they dropped it. If they win this title, it's gonna be it adds something. It doesn't. I don't want to call it as one of the biggest ones, no, because it's not. You understand? We all know that. You understand? This one is the one that. If you cannot make it to the Champions League and then the UEFA not, then this is the other one that you can get. So they definitely have to win it. Why they have to win it? Because they are playing against a team that they capable in winning, but the only thing is that technically, I know it's going to be an interesting final, and I want to see what Maresca is going to do, because now he cannot say they are too young.
Yeah.
Now he has to turn up.
That's the thing, isn't it, Jules? He's kind of set this bar pretty high for himself now.
He's already made the excuse.
Well, because they played on Friday.
Yeah, it's because they played on Friday.
Betis played on Friday. Chelsea
it's all mapped out.
There you go.
It's all mapped out for him.
It's
Come
all
on,
mapped out.
Stevie, he's not going to do that.
He already has, hasn't he, Jules?
I wouldn't be surprised if he did, indeed, if they were not to win a competition that they've been too good for and too strong for it. Even with a B team, they made it all the way to the final. This is the toughest game by far that they've had through this whole campaign. And now winning it for this young team, we go back to youth again, will be good for sure, because it's that winning habit and winning mentality out of that. And the earliest you learn it or you get it, the better for you. But it's not going to be easy. And this Betis team is good. Anthony is on good form. This Betis team is on good form too, even if they only drew on Friday night. And they've had 2 more days to recover.
Yes, indeed. That game, of course, on Wednesday. Bumper edition of the Gav and Jules podcast, breaking down everything, including all those developments in Italy regarding Antonio Conte's future at Napoli. Be sure to check out the latest edition now. It is official then, Xabi Alonso is the new coach of Real Madrid. He was unveiled at the Santiago Bernabeu today with Fiorentino Perez. Of course, a big task in hand, taking over from Carlo Ancelotti. Really good article from Alex Kirkland over on the website, talking about Alonso, what he needs to do going forward. Luis Garcia contributes there as well. Of course, he played with him at Liverpool and Spain. And tomorrow there'll be a special edition as we focus on Alonso taking over at Real Madrid. Lamine Yamal looks set as well to sign his new contract at Barcelona. Plus, we'll be looking ahead to Real Betis against Chelsea. Be sure to join us for the next edition of ESPN FC. Meanwhile, as we went to air, Cristiano Ronaldo put this out on social media. This chapter is over. The story still being written. Grateful to all. Right there, Jules. What's all that mean?
That means that he's out of contract at Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia, and as we knew and kind of been briefed before, there was not going to be an extension. That his time over there, which in terms of his own numbers, not so much in trophies, but in terms of his own numbers and the goal that he scored and probably the impact that he had on that league, has been a success. Not that, again, they didn't win anything, certainly not enough for him, for his liking. But there's another chapter where, that is the question, obviously, at his age too, where could he go? Certainly not back to Europe, or it would have to be something romantic like Sporting, for example, which I'm not even sure would want to take him back. So what, you look at Brazil, you look at MLS maybe, but for now, I think he's probably going to try to find a club to play in the Club World Cup. Because that's really what Gianni Infantino really wants.
That's where I was going, Jules. That's where we were looking. So it is possible he could play in the Club World Cup if a club obviously taking part takes him.
Yeah, which is a ridiculous rule in itself, right? To sign a 2 weeks contract or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, depending how long that team stays in the Club World Cup. I don't think it should be allowed, but hey, this is what FIFA have done, so it is allowed now. So if you're Botafogo, for example, which is a club that has been mentioned to me being interested in Cristiano Ronaldo, if you're John Textor, the owner, then maybe you make an offer on the table and say, hey, listen, why don't you come over and we give you that much money? Wow. This is your team for, again, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, how long their adventure in the Club World Cup in the US lasts. And then after that, we say goodbye. I find it really wrong for me, but hey, it's allowed, so that's a possibility.
How's about he signs for 4 weeks with Inter Miami?
Well, who has the discovery rights of Cristiano Ronaldo in MLS, Jules?
It's got to be Inter Miami, isn't it? Everybody else.
You think 4 weeks with Inter Miami?
Can you imagine? That would be frightening, wouldn't it?
It would be very fun.
Oh, my God.
It would be a lot of fun, I'll tell you what. Infantino, as Jules said, would absolutely love it. To keep up to date with all the latest on the future of Cristiano Ronaldo, be sure to go over to our YouTube channel as we break down the possibilities of where he's going to go as he looks set to leave Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, Spurs finished 17th in the table, 38 points from 38 games. They're, of course, 1-0 up against Brighton. They'd lose 4-1. Ange just does not care anymore. How do I assess this at the end? How do I assess this season? Outstanding. We won a trophy which we haven't done for 17 years, and we're in the Champions League. Ask any supporter at the start of the season if they take that, and they wouldn't be a person in the house that wouldn't. He doesn't care anymore, Jules.
No, he's on like literally freestyling, he's pushing his third season is even better than second season when you watch your TV series. He's on fire.
He is absolutely on fire. Brilliant. You like it, Steve?
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so Australian as well, isn't it? I mean, Aussies, they don't care. They just give it both barrels, and he's gone for it big time.
Mario, what would you do if you're Daniel Levy? Keep him or sack him?
I would not, because I think, so long you've been waiting for a trophy. It doesn't look great. He did it to Mourinho prior to that, prior to his final. He sacked him, and then they end up, and now they in a moment when they win it, I will give him another push. Yeah, because of all the play. I know the season wasn't great, but I still definitely want to talk about the stubborn side.
You look at the whole season, you look how the players felt. The players were not happy with Ange for most of this season. They didn't understand that stubbornness that Mario just mentioned. Why don't you want to change a bit of what we do here? Remember, they're like, we will never change, mate. This was not good. This is not good. You don't build anything like that. So they might talk and sit down and he convinced them to keep it on for another year. But the fact that Ange hasn't heard anything from the people above him yet, not about pre-season, not about next season, as he's gone on holidays today, is not a good sign.
Meanwhile, Mario's boy is back in business. Erik ten Hag takes charge at Bayer Leverkusen to replace Xabi Alonso. Of course, has made that move to Real Madrid. That was made official today. Be interesting to see how he gets on in Germany. Of course, a man who isn't shy in reminding us, brought domestic success to Manchester United during his time winning the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. And of course, all that success at Ajax is really where he made his reputation as one of the most prolific managers in Europe. Lots of questions, as always, for Jules and Mario and Stevie to answer on Extra Time. You can check that out over on YouTube. PSG won a title as well, 11 league titles in the last 13 seasons, domestic doubles in 6 of those campaigns. Jules, I haven't followed this very closely, to be honest. What's been going on with playoff talks in France? Because people have had enough, of PSG winning all the time?
It's an idea that they've started doing in the Women's League in France. Probably because they had enough of Lyon being so dominant. So maybe you're right, Dan. Maybe it's kind of an answer to this domination from PSG. But the idea that you could have semi-finals and finals. So semi-finals for the top 4, first against 4, second against third, and then the final of playoff could be an idea. So there's a lot of things going on at the top of the French league and the way it's governed. And this is part of that reflection.
Do you like that idea, Jules?
I don't mind it. I mean, you know me, more football, the better for me. So yeah, if you go, it brings a little bit of something different, something that is not very often. You have playoffs in countries like Scotland or Belgium, but it's just not semi-final and final like France could do. It's more playoff where you play each other, like the top 6 teams play each other twice, home and away, that kind of stuff, which I think works too, to be fair. This is a little bit different. I think it would be worth being tried, to be fair.
Of Extra Time, thank you very much for everyone that's written in. Jules, when do you go to Germany?
On Wednesday afternoon.
Oh, are you excited? Full kit?
What's he going there for?
So our two boys coming with me. The little girl, she's staying here. I've got more tickets for my cousins as well who are coming over.
Wow.
And my brother is
fine.
my brother is about to either get divorced from his wife to come to the final because they booked a holiday, or you get peace at home, go to the holiday and miss the final.
Well, there you are. Divorce it is. Mario and Stevie, which English... Oh, this is very negative. Mario, which English team in the Champions League next season is going to be most disappointing? Liverpool, Spurs, Chelsea, Newcastle, Arsenal or City?
Hey, I go for... Spurs.
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 What's happened to your voice, Mario? You okay?
I go. I'm great.
Oh,
Sorry, Dan.
That's
Spurs
right.
is the killer.
You're a bit down there for a moment. I'm not used to it from you, Mario.
Hey, I'm okay. Excuse me.
That's okay. Stevie?
I've got to go for Chelsea, innit? Apparently I'm a Chelsea hater.
Yeah, well, you do
I've got to go for Chelsea now.
Well, that's definitely what the comment segment is saying.
Yeah.
Jules, Arsene Wenger's Arsenal was previously the only Premier League team with 3 consecutive second-place finishes. They won the league the next year. Is 4th time the charm for Arteta?
It's a good question. I think their consistency is not a bad thing, cannot be a bad thing, but you're still missing something clearly to be better than City in the last 2 seasons and better than Liverpool this season. It will come down to their recruitment as well, to keeping their players fit next season, to also hoping that Liverpool are not as good as they have been this season, that City don't come back to the level that they were in the last 2 seasons. So you need a bit of luck, you need a lot of things going your way too when you want to win a title like this in the toughest league in the world. But yeah, I think they will start the season hoping and believing that they can do it for sure.
Newcastle without Europe improved their position this term, Stevie. Mm-hmm. Can Manchester United expect the immediate improvement just because they will play 1 game a week? It can only help, can't it?
It can't get any worse.
Yeah,
I mean, let's
true.
be honest. Let's shit out of us. It can't be any worse. It can't be. It's impossible. So they have to get better. Mm-hmm. I mean, are they going to get better from just off relegation to where? 10th. I mean, in order for them to get better, well, let's just say they can't. Even with the same squad next year, they'll be better than they were this year.
Why?
Let me say that.
Why?
Because it can't be any worse.
Right.
I mean, that's my only explanation.
Yeah.
But for them to climb the table, they're going to have to make some signings. And Man United need to make signings who are going to come in straight away.
So
and
Cunha,
make a
obviously someone who's
difference.
been linked. That's a good signing in your eyes?
On paper, it makes them better. But as we've seen from United, on paper and what they produce are two different things.
But I suppose at least Cunha's got Premier League experience.
They
He's
need
scored
3 or
some
4
goals.
Cunhas.
Right.
They need 3 or 4 Cunhas.
Right.
You know, they're talking about Delap. You know, there's no guarantee Delap's going to do anything at Manchester United.
But it's an improvement on what they've got, isn't it?
Again, that's why they're going to be better, because they can't be any worse. But in terms of challenging for top 4, I don't see how it's possible. They need 3 or 4 legitimate starters who will change the attitude, change the face of the team, change the energy around the team. Because right now they've got 2 guys. They've got Amad Diallo and Bruno Fernandes, and the rest are just there.
Mario, if you're Nottingham Forest, are you disappointed with just a Conference League spot after sitting top 5 for most of the season? And can they push again next year?
I'm disappointed. Why? Because of the position I was in prior to when it came out. But if you ask me this before the season kicks off, I'll be a happy man. To make it this far as a team that you understand, no. Look, we also have to be honest. Everybody, or not everybody, let's call it myself, we were talking like this might be a team that's going to fight for relegation. And then you get yourself in Europe. This is a great achievement. Next season, if they're going to do it again, they play high intensity, high energy, and I don't know if the relationship between the coach and the owner is going to be as smooth as you would like it to be prior to the accident what they had on the field. And if that is the case, if it's going to be smooth and everything, and they can add and happen to perform the same way, they can do the same thing and get themselves back into Europe. But if not, it could be a big disappointment being in Europe now and playing so many games.
Jules, who do you think is the best option as a striker for Chelsea?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, it looks like right now Liam Delap is the one that they like, and it's probably the cheapest of the options that you can get in that position, because his release clause is £30 million. And if you want Gyökeres, or if you want Vlahovic, or if you want Isak, is not possible for them. But if you want Sesko, those are going to cost you more than £30 million. So it also depends how much money they're ready to invest in that position, knowing that they also have Nico Jackson there already, but they need somebody else for sure. So I think they like Delap a lot because he's the right age for them, because the wages would be right for them too, and because he would accept a 7 or 8 year deal like they usually do. But I think they could aim higher than that, and we haven't even talked about Osimhen, who will be on the market too this summer. So there's a lot of number 9s on the market. You just have to depend the age that you want, the profile that you want, how much money you're ready to invest.
Mario, if you're Joe Bellingham, would you want to stay with Sunderland and play in the Premier League, or move to the Bundesliga for a better salary?
No, I stay in the Premier League. Why? Why does the kid have to move? He goes up, you understand, even if he does a year at... it depends, of course, where they ask me at the Bundesliga. You understand, it depends what team it is. If it's a team, of course, if it's a team that's going to play in Europe, I don't need to think. But if it's a team that is outside of Europe, I stay at Sunderland.
I think it would be somewhere... It would be a bigger German team, wouldn't it, Jules?
Yeah, it would be Dortmund. If he goes there, it's Dortmund. They are the ones that have been following him from the beginning.
That's great.
And the question is about money. I don't think it's the money that would matter to the Bellinghams anyway, and to Job Bellingham. It's just that you stay at Sunderland, you also know that you might risk being a team like we see the 3 promoted team, like a Leicester or like a Southampton or like an Ipswich this season. And do you want that? Yeah, you're learning your trade and you're learning the Premier League, but you're also losing every weekend. You go to Dortmund in a very different environment. You're also learning, but you're learning and you're playing the Champions League and you're playing to finish top 4 in the Bundesliga. It's a very, very different experience than being at a club that might struggle. And I think we all expect Sunderland to find it difficult necessarily in the Premier League. It's normal. They don't have the squad right now, and I'm not sure they would get there either. So I think that's why he will leave, and I don't expect him to be at Sunderland next season in the Premier League.
No brainer.
No brainer.
Final question, Jules. How good was Beth Mead's reverse pass? Arsenal women winning the WSL. How big an achievement is it? How will it impact Arsenal and the WSL in general?
I mean, an amazing reverse pass. Really amazing from a striker, really. That if it was Mariona Caldente doing that pass or Aitana Bonmati, you would think, okay, this is what they do, this is what their strength is. For Beth Mead to do it, it's wonderful. The coaching from René Slegers was great because obviously both Mead and Blackstenius came off the bench a few minutes before and scored the winning goal for Arsenal. It's an incredible achievement for Arsenal, not just to win the Champions League, but to do it against Barcelona, the best team in the world right now, and has been the best team in the world for a long time. So to break that domination is great, that dominance. And that will give them a lot of momentum for next season too, to fight with Chelsea and Manchester City and Manchester United for the WSL title. So an incredible afternoon and an achievement for Arsenal on Saturday.
Final question, Jules. How does it feel that Dan finished 20 places above you in Fantasy Premier League?
Did you really? I would not believe you. You're such a liar sometimes. I would not believe
well,
you. But
Jules,
well done to you if you did.
Thanks for turning up in the end today as well, Jules. We appreciate you.
You were behind me for a long time.
He's quick.
Season, so I'll let you win.
That is it. ESPN FC returns tomorrow. I think we've got Alex, Sid, the Spanish contingent are in the house to talk about Xavi Alonso, Lamine Yamal's new contract, plus a little look ahead to Chelsea against Betis.